Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of the WD Broadcasting Network here on True Sim Productions. We are once again with the All-Star Racing League Barry Elvis Performance and Fabrication Late Model Series. Tonight we are at the Myrtle Beach Speedway for the biggest event on our 12-race schedule, race number 6. Going to be happening at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Obviously, a pretty upsetting fate for the real Myrtle Beach Speedway in real life, but like I've said before, luckily iRacing gives us that luxury that we get to go back in time and kind of relive some of the glory days of Myrtle Beach. So 200 laps here tonight. Going to be a pretty exciting race. We do have a halfway break at the lap 100 mark. It'll be a 5-minute break. These drivers are going to get a chance to stretch their legs a little bit, get up, go to the bathroom, maybe grab a drink, do whatever they need to do before we complete the final 100 laps. Couple cool storylines coming into tonight. The standings are pretty close, but as of last week, Brian Voss able to knock Brian Zimmerman off of the top spot in points, picking up his second win in a row, second victory this season. So Voss obviously has some pretty good momentum coming into tonight, and right now he's sitting at the top spot in the standings. A little bit different than the normal Buffalo Wild Wings black and yellow we see out of the 55. But nonetheless, some pretty cool colors there for Brian Voss. We got about a minute left in practice here, folks. Some other cool battles going on in points. Brandon Elvis, Zach Murphy, Caleb Thompson, Daniel Sweat, all really close in the top 5. Alex Harris as well. So Brian Voss has a pretty good lead over Brian Zimmerman, but behind them, it's pretty close. Really, throughout your top 10, it's anybody's game, race to race. So these guys have some pretty good competition. We've been seeing some pretty good car counts with the All-Star Racing League. We've got 16 cars right now. I don't see Justin Coleman, though, so there's always a chance for him to sneak in without me looking. Couple other drivers making some final runs. Brian Voss has done 110 laps here in this practice session. So definitely a lot of practice put in by that 55 machine. I'm sure just trying to get that perfect qualifying run. But we'll see what he can do. Qualifying is going to mean a lot in this race. You're going to have control on the restarts, but it's a long race, obviously, 200 laps. You're going to have to keep the tires underneath of you. They're going to have a set of tires in the pits to their dispose whenever they want to use it. Looks like Brian Voss is going to be jumping the gun, ready to go. So the 55 making his way down the back straightaway. He's going to be our first competitor here in qualifying. These guys are going to have 2 laps. I think Voss might have exited the pits unsafely right there, but Brian Zimmerman in the 28 machine, your second place driver in points. And I've noticed this throughout the season so far, is Brian Zimmerman in the 28 usually does not qualify up right at the front, top 5, sometimes not even in the top 10, but he'll always be there at the end of the races, and that's what's keeping him in that second place spot in points as he makes his way into turns 1 and 2. Going with a little bit of a higher line than what I'm really used to at Myrtle Beach. Might be trying to build up some of that momentum. So he comes out of turns 3 and 4. Looks like he's going to be the first one to take a time in 1962. It's about 2/10 off of the pole, which is Brian Voss with a 1946 on lap number 1. We'll see what Voss can do on lap number 2. Zimmerman making his way through turns 3 and 4. His second time. Going to slow down a little bit. Voss's second time. Also going to slow down a little bit. So right now, Voss in the 55 is your fast qualifier. Alex Harris in the 13 making a qualifying effort here. currently in the 4th spot as Matt Cox jumps up into the 2nd position. We'll see if Harris has got anything on the 2nd lap. So checkered flag right there. Lap number 2. Going to move him up a spot. So we'll see Dalton Creech now, the 36th, the owner of the All-Star Racing League. He's going to see the white flag right here. So lap number 1 for the 36 will put him in the 4th spot for the 1961. 7 cars so far taking time as we hit the halfway point in qualifying. Zach Murphy in the 29 coming to complete his qualifying run right here. See where he's at. 7th on lap number 1. He's going to move up to 6th on the 2nd lap. Daniel Sweat in the Bad Company Racing 07 making his way through turns 3 and 4. This is his first lap around. White flag up in the air. First lap for Sweat, P6 for the 1961. Sweat making his way through turns 3 and 4. Currently sitting in the 6th spot. Lap number 2. Looks like he slows down a little bit, so he's going to stay in the 6th spot for now. Chris Smith in the 80 machine going to be coming around to see the green flag. So green is up for Chris Smith in the 80 machine. He picked up a couple wins last season. Still, so far this season, not made it to victory lane. We've had 4 different winners in our 5 races. So could we see a 5th winner here tonight? Brian Voss coming off of 2 back-to-back wins. Smith 9th on lap number 1. It's Brandon Elvis in the 54. He's making laps. This is the completion of lap number 1, so he'll see the white flag. Lap number 1 on 1994, but we saw him drive up into the top side there. So he's going to pick up some time on the 2nd lap, commit to the bottom right here. So Elvis out of turns 3 and 4, kept his foot in it right there. He's going to have a good run to the line. 54 will go 4th quick with a 1956, so time's pretty close there all throughout the top 5. Really through the top 10 as well. Anthony Rennick in the 23 comes around to complete his qualifying run. Some new colors on the 23 this week. I really am a fan of that light blue / like teal color, if you will. It's one of my favorite colors on race cars. So I believe qualifying has concluded. We'll have 17 cars bringing us to the green. And once again, picking up another pole this season. Ryan Voss's 4th pole here tonight. We'll bring him up into the chat and see if he's got anything to say to us. Ryan Voss up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Alrighty, well, I feel like I talk to you every single week after qualifying. You've got it figured out. Something you're doing is just a little bit different than everybody else, but coming off of 2 back-to-back race wins, 200 laps here tonight, what can you do to make it 3 in a row?
About the same every week, man. Just stay out of trouble. Keep the tires on it here. It's really going to be about tire degradation. And just hopefully not lose track position, be there during the pit stop, and be there at the end.
Alrighty, well, sounds like you got a plan figured out. We got a halfway break in tonight's race. What's the #1 thing on your priority list in the halfway break?
Be the leader coming in, be the first one off.
Alrighty, well, good luck to you, and hopefully we can talk to you post-race.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, folks, that was Brian Voss, driver of the number 55 machine, and go ahead and go through our starting lineup. So obviously on the pole, Brian Voss in the 55, going to be rolling off from the top spot. At his outside, it will be the 51 of Matt Cox. Then back behind them, a couple of the Admins for the All-Star Racing League, Dalton Creech, Brandon Elvis, going to be rolling off in row number 2. In the third row, bottom side will be the 04 of Caleb Thompson. And then up to his outside, it'll be the 80 machine of Chris Smith. Back behind them, Justin Coleman in the 14, going to be rolling off 7th. And then to his outside, it'll be Alex Harris in the 13. Daniel Sweat going to be rolling off in the 9th spot with Zach Murphy to his outside. Then Brian Zimmerman in the 11th position. Larry Bell going to be rolling off. Larry Bell rolling off 13th. Anthony Rennick rolling off 12th. Then Justin Elvis out back in the 44. Chase Robertson, Mason Johnson, and Jason Bauer not on the grid here at the start of the race. So not going to be making the call. You see the pace car pulling into the inside of the track. Field making their way through turns 3 and 4. Field is up through turns 3 and 4 through the Bad Company Racing start zone. We are racing at Myrtle Beach down into turns 1 and 2 for lap 1 of 200 here. Looks like Voss going to have the advantage down the back straightaway. Here comes Matt Cox making a bid for second. Dalton Creech tried to look inside. Cox going to be able to shut the door. So through turns 3 and 4, leader of lap number 1 will be Brian Voss in the 55 machine. And now it's save, save, save from here. Field making their way down the back straightaway. Looks like Daniel Sweat battling with Alex Harris in the 13. They've got Chris Smith in the 80 machine kind of in between lanes in front of them as well. So Daniel Sweat able to get clear. Ooh, Alex Harris way up the racetrack. He's going to lose a couple positions here. Anthony Rennick goes by. Brian Zimmerman as well. Larry Bell going to have an opportunity to maybe sneak by as well. So the outside, obviously not the place that you want to be here early on. Down into 1, you see everybody already single file starting to prepare for the end of the race. Track position not going to be too big of a key here early on. Definitely at that halfway break, though, you got to make sure you're towards the front of the pack. Dalton Creech makes a little bit of an effort here. He closes up to the back bumper of Matt Cox in the 51. Justin Elvis out back in the 44. Not quite sure if he had some trouble on the start there or if he's just trying to really save tires, but he's really fallen out of touch with your front group here as Chris Smith battles with Caleb Thompson for the 6th spot. A couple cars side by side back behind them as well. Brian Zimmerman up top with Anthony Rennick in the 23 down low. You see everybody kind of shuffling in and out of line on the front stretch. It's kind of hard at Myrtle Beach here to really keep that car in a specific spot on the straightaway. The wall is curved and it's just a really weird line. Everybody kind of tackles it differently. So you see everybody kind of swerving in and out as Coleman got into the wall there on the exit. Up front, maybe a battle for the 2nd spot brewing between Matt Cox and Dalton Creech. Creech has closed up a couple times now. So we go through turns 1 and 2. But Creech has closed up a couple times now, just not quite able to make that pass or really make an opening. This Cox doing a good job sitting in that 2nd spot. Last season, folks, Matt Cox had a great run going here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway, but unfortunately involved in an incident late on in the race. Put him outside the top 10 at the end of that one, so he's going to try and avoid that here tonight, but he's obviously got some pretty good speed here early on, running in that 2nd spot. So far, not too many big movers here. Everybody up a couple positions. And vice versa as well. Alex Harris, though, down 4 spots from the drop of the green flag. You know, we mentioned saving tires and track position not mattering too much, but you can't give it up early. You can get it back late, but you can't give up too much early. And 4 spots and being that far back in the pack might come back to haunt the 13 of Alex Harris later. But obviously still very early on. And we haven't seen too much real changes in position to make any real judgments of how that's going to affect him. 3 cars kind of breaking away here. Brandon Elvis in the 54. He's got a little bit of a gap to Dalton Creech in the 36 machine. But he's got teammate Justin Coleman right there on his back bumper. I don't know how Justin Coleman does it in the 14. He gets in these sessions pretty late and is just able to lay down laps quickly and run good in the field with little to no practice. So shout out to the 14 of Justin Coleman. Always puts on a good show, and he's always very fun to talk to up here in the booth. As Voss leads with 15 to go, or sorry, 15 down. A whole lot more than 15 to go, but he's doing a good job right here, keeping his gap, keeping his tires cool. Field makes their way down into turns 1 and 2. It looks like people aren't really fighting too hard for position right now at this point in the race. Everybody obviously has played the game before. They know how to be there in the end, and that's what they want to do. Trying to balance, looking back and forth. We've got the World Series at New Smyrna up on my big screen TV to my right, and the race right here on my left. Got 2 good battles going on both sides, trying to do a balance of the 2. Right now on track, Voss still doing Brian Voss things. He's keeping the machine in front. Not the gap that we saw last week at Martinsville quite yet, but definitely has a little bit of a speed advantage over the 51 of Matt Cox and the 36 of Dalton Creech. As we look at the lap times, everybody kind of close as far as what we're running. Everybody's really in the 19.9s right now. A couple outliers throughout the field, but everybody kind of on that same game plan of let the race pan out and be there in the end. Obviously have a halfway break at lap 100. I don't think we'll have any fuel issues prior to that lap 100 halfway break, but definitely could worry about tires at lap 100. These cars are, I'm sure, already a little bit squirrely on lap 22, and we've still got 80 more laps until they're for sure going to come down and get tires. And we could see people try to undercut that caution flag a little bit, pit if we get a caution at, maybe lap 85, pit and try and have some track position later in the race. Obviously tire depending, and a lot of factors play into that as well, but definitely some pretty interesting pit calls could be made here. This time by will be 1/8 of the way into this one. Last week it was a quarter, but 100 more laps this week compared to Martinsville last week. So definitely more of an endurance race here tonight at Myrtle Beach than we've seen so far this season. It's going to take a lot to be there in the end, especially to have the speed and be able to put laps together at the end when you got so many laps on your tires. And I know a lot of these guys run some pretty high force feedback wheels, so it's definitely an arm workout after 200 laps at Myrtle Beach. That's no kidding. Field continues to spread out a little bit. The backpack, or the back half of this pack has really kind of lost touch with your race leader. About 3.5 seconds, 4 seconds the difference between Larry Bell and your race leader, Brian Voss. Obviously, a caution in here could change all that. It's obviously still early on in the race, but gives you kind of an idea of the speed difference throughout the field as we get further into runs. Brandon Elvis kind of reeling in the 36 of Dalton Creech a little bit. We mentioned that 3-car breakaway that we had earlier on. The 54 is trying to spoil that as he closes in on the back bumper. Daniel Sweat maybe thinking about taking a peek to the inside of Zach Murphy here in the 29. He's been close the past couple laps. I've been watching him here. It looks like really a lot of people are kind of stacking up behind one another and might start to get a little bit more aggressive to pass just simply by running out of patience. It's hard to be behind somebody when you know you kind of could go a little bit quicker, and it's hard to watch the rest of the field pull away when you're stuck behind somebody. So as people start to wear out their tires more, we're going to see more aggression. As Matt Cox has kind of reeled in your race leader a little bit. He's been quicker past couple laps. And one thing we did not see at Martinsville last week was a pass under green around that 55 machine. Right now the 51 is looking to have a little bit of speed here. He's starting to reel him in just a little bit. But yeah, last week at Martinsville, Brian Voss just put it to the rest of the field. So now it's a 4-car breakaway up front. Justin Coleman sitting comfortably by himself in the 5th spot. First battle on track we've seen in a while. Brian Zimmerman takes a peek to the inside of Anthony Rennick in the 23. Up front, and looks like Dalton Creech gets into the outside wall. Brandon Elvis able to sneak by for the 3rd spot. All of a sudden, we've got battles all over the racetrack. It looks like Caleb Thompson was battling underneath Chris Smith in 1 and 2 there. Smith able to use that outside lane, get the run off the corner. A couple positions shuffle around. Thompson comes back on the inside here. It looks like Smith is just able to hold that outside line and get the run off the corner. It's really hard to come off the bottom of turns 1 and 2 here when you aren't able to use up that whole racetrack. 3 and 4 is a little bit better. You can use up the bottom, in my opinion, you can use up the bottom a little bit more than you can in 1 and 2. Right here you see Thompson on the bottom, just not able to get that run when Chris Smith is to the outside. He's not able to come up to the wall as much, and he's got to baby the throttle a little bit more through the center. All factors in racing these late model stock cars. They put up a heck of a show, nearly contact there. Thompson got tired of using or got tired of being on that bottom lane, said, you know what, I'm going to use a little bit more than what you're giving me here. And Smith moves up the racetrack there, and that's going to haunt him in turns 3 and 4. He's going to lose 3 positions there going into 1 and 2. You saw him get up under the outside wall, and then he had to watch Caleb Thompson, Zach Murphy, and Daniel Sweat all fly by. So move the 80 of Chris Smith back to the 9th spot right now. Alex Harris kind of closes the gap to him as well. Up front, now a 2-car breakaway. Brandon Elvis has kind of backed off a little bit. Let Matt Cox and Brian Voss pull away just a little bit. Justin Coleman has closed into the gap to the 36 of Dalton Creech. That'd be the battle for the 4th position. Right now, it looks like the fastest car on the racetrack. There's contact. Coleman and Creech get together. We'll take a look once again from maybe a better view. Try and see. Yeah, here we go. From our friends up in the chopper camera. Oh, it looks like a little bit of net code right there. Might even call it just the slightest little bit of contact between the two. Coleman going to tow the car back to pit lane. I believe Creech got it back going. So looks like he does. Nobody coming down pit road just yet. Oh, Justin Coleman is in the pits, I should say. He did end up towing his race car. But under caution for the first time here tonight. Brian Voss, your race leader. Matt Cox in the 2nd spot. Brandon Elvis 3rd. We'll be back with more green flag racing when we return here on True Sim Productions. We'll return shortly. Alrighty, folks, we're back here on True Sim Productions, getting ready to go back green flag racing, just past the 1/4 of the way mark here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Brian Voss, your leader. Matt Cox to his outside. The Bad Company Racing pace car makes its way, the Bad Company Racing pace car makes its way off through the Mr. All-Time Gaming restart zone. Voss gets on the gas. Matt Cox is going to follow. We're going down into turns 1 and 2. Green flag racing. Matt Cox going to have to defend that second spot. Brian Voss did a good job getting away right there. Caleb Thompson, Zach Murphy now battling. So give the lead on the restart back to Brian Voss. Thompson going to use up that outside lane in the 0-4. Try and make that work as he is able to squeeze Zach Murphy down. Move Caleb Thompson back up into the 4th spot. Ooh, a little bit of contact there. Daniel Sweat up the racetrack in the 0-7. Here comes Chris Smith and Alex Harris trying to take advantage. Here comes Zach Murphy. Zay Valor right there. I think they're all going to sort themselves out. Up front, your race leader, Brian Voss, coming to lap number 55. He's doing a good job getting the gap and just kind of keeping it there. You see he's able to get these gaps and just put less wear on his tires. Brandon Elvis running in the 3rd spot. Biggest mover so far is Zach Murphy in the 29 machine. Currently up 5 positions, started in the 10th spot. He's up to 5th. So the 29 looks to have it figured out a little bit here as we're approaching that halfway point. Alex Harris moving to the inside of Chris Smith. That's the battle for the 7th spot. Brian Zimmerman going to try and find a way to take a spot as well. Looks like Smith's going to have the advantage up on that top side. It's just a lot easier to hold the guy down than try and make it work down low. And we're seeing that right here as Smith once again gets the advantage down the backstretch. Ooh, a little bit loose though. That's going to give Harris an opportunity back on the inside. And one of the things that makes that bottom side work so well here at Myrtle, or sorry, one of the things that makes that top side work so well, contact, around goes Harris. Zimmerman hard into the wall. We saw it right there happening in front of us. Harris just, it was just hard for Harris to hold that bottom line for so long right there. It gets into the corner and just gets in a little bit too hot, slides up the track, and nothing really Brian Zimmerman in the 28 machine, nothing he could do. Just an innocent bystander right there. So we'll take another look and see if we can't see what happened. Yeah, just you see the speed difference right there. Zimmerman on the brakes, nowhere he can go. Some hard contact on the outside wall. Doesn't look to be too badly damaged. Alex Harris gonna be down pit road. It looks like both drivers able to drive away, but Harris and Zimmerman both gonna bring it down pit road. Justin Coleman in the 14 did call it a night after that first incident. So tough break for the 14. He's gonna finish in that 14th spot. But right now, Brian Zimmerman getting left side tires. He's going to exit the pits. Alex Harris looks to be just getting some damage repaired. He's also going to exit. So both drivers able to stay on the lead lap. And we are under caution for the 2nd time here this evening. Take this time to shout out some of our sponsors. Chestnut Hill, the restaurant in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Barry Elvis Performance and Fabrication for helping put on the late model series with the All-Star Racing League. So I believe we should be getting the white flag one to go signal. We do. The lights drop on Bad Company Racing pace car. And it'll be Brian Voss and Matt Cox once again. These two have been in those spots 1 and 2 this entire race. Will we see anybody make the jump here on the restart? Will anybody have anything for your race leader, Brian Voss? We'll find out as the field makes their way through Mr. All-Time Gaming restart zone, and we are back racing down into turns 1 and 2. Voss gets another good jump. Elvis kind of had to check up there for the 51 of Matt Cox. Can Caleb Thompson do something on the outside here? Battling for the 3rd spot into turns 3 and 4. Looks like Thompson wanted that bottom lane. Kind of checked up there going into the corner so he could get down in front of Zach Murphy, who is now battling with Daniel Sweat in the 0-7 for the 5th spot. Sweat up top, not able to hold that run. He's going to have to get back in line behind. So move Zach Murphy safely back into the 5th spot. He's up front, Brian Voss. Continuing to keep that race lead. We're about 30 laps shy of our halfway break. Dalton Creech trying to recover from that early spin with Justin Coleman. Battling with Larry Bell for the 9th spot. See if the 36 can make it happen down low. We've seen a mixture, really, of the bottom side and the top side working. It's pretty fun racing we've had so far. Creech gets the advantage here through turns 1 and 2. Anthony Rennick and Chris Smith might be going to battle here pretty soon. Looks like the 80's starting to lose a little bit of that drive off. He's had to battle on that top side several times pretty early. So you got to wonder if the tires might be starting to get a little bit hot on the 80. So 29 trying to find a way to the bottom side. Looks like he's going to have to run down the back. Creech right there in the 36 as well. Thinking about 3 wide off the corner. The 80 of Chris Smith checks up. Everybody's got to check up. That was exciting there for a minute. Alex Harris and Justin Elvis came in late as well. Hard on the binders. Chris Smith going to lose a couple spots there back to the 10th spot. He's up front. Brandon Elvis underneath Matt Cox for the 2nd spot. Move the defending champion up into the 2nd position for the first time tonight. So just about 75 laps into this one. Zach Murphy, Caleb Thompson in the 4th and 5th spots right here. Murphy closing up on the back bumper of the 0-4. Might be trying to get him back. Murphy, one of the biggest movers we've seen so far. Him and Anthony Rennick have both been up 5 positions since the drop of the green flag. Make that 6 for Zach Murphy at the stripe. Daniel Sweat closing in on them as well. Here comes Larry Bell underneath Anthony Rennick. Dalton Creech able to get by as well. This thing's starting to get spread out. I think the tires are really starting to get heated up here as we get later into this one. Voss has got about a 3/4 of a second lead over Brandon Elvis in the 2nd spot. Anthony Rennick in the 23, trouble off 2. His tires might be starting to go away, and the tire fall off here is really getting bad, as we've seen people have some pretty bad pushes off of the corner. Alex Harris trying to break a little bit further into the top 10. This is the battle for the 9th spot. Anthony Rennick up top, Harris down low. We're 80 laps in at the stripe. Boss comes around to put another lap into the books. Things are getting pretty spread out. Like I mentioned, tires really starting to be a factor here, as we were pretty late into this first half of the race. Everybody just trying to really make it to that halfway point and stay on the lead lap. Your points leader, Brian Voss, just continuing to add to his points lead, really. Got the pole here tonight. He's out in front doing good things. They're about 15 laps from the halfway mark at the line that time. Voss has obviously got a commanding lead. Brandon Elvis in the 2nd spot. And then it's a big gap back to Matt Cox in the 3rd, who's really, or in the 3rd spot, who's really fallen off. Zach Murphy back behind them in the 4th position. Caleb Thompson, Daniel Sweat as well. But the gaps get bigger throughout the field. Last car on the lead lap right here is Chris Smith in the 80. Currently 16 seconds behind your race leader, Brian Voss. He enters turns 1 and 2. Brian Voss is right there on the exit of turns 3 and 4, so. It's going to be close and see if Smith can stay on the lead lap or not. He's got some pretty rough tires on the 80, and it looks like he's having to really baby that car to get it through the corner. So I do think he is going to lose a lap here. And he's going to come down pit road. The 80 of Chris Smith down pit road, 10 laps shy of the halfway point. Is Anthony Rennick, Brian Zimmerman battling for the 11th spot. We are 10 laps from the halfway point right here. Chris Smith still down pit road. He's getting tires on the 80 machine, so he's going to be several laps down here. I believe 3 at the line right there. So unfortunate break there for the 80 machine. We'll see if anybody else goes a lap down. Alex Harris gets around Larry Bell. That's the 8th spot for Alex Harris, so he's back up to his starting position. Still, so far, the biggest mover is the 29 machine of Zach Murphy. He's up 6 spots before the halfway break. You got to think he's sitting pretty here as we get towards the second half of this race. He'd start to be a little bit more aggressive Things are going to heat up for sure. Now 5 laps shy of the halfway break. Voss on the 55 has obviously got a good lead over Brandon Elvis, but the lap times are close. He's just been able to build that lead up over time. Alex Harris gets by Dalton Creech. He's making a charge here late. He was able to save some of that tire. We saw him running towards the back. And now he's really coming through the field. Brian Voss now 2 laps away from the halfway break, trying to be the Coleman Design halfway leader. Anthony Rennick comes down pit road. He said enough was enough with those tires. He's got to come down to pit road to get some new ones. So he is going to go a lap down. Tough break for the 23 machine here late in the run. Now 1 lap shy of the halfway mark. Justin Elvis gets around Larry Bell just before the caution's thrown. Anthony Rennick out of the pits. And Chris Smith has called it a night in the 80 machine, unfortunately. We'll see how many laps Rennick went down in the 23. And as Brian Voss comes up and out of turns 3 and 4, he's going to see the cross flags and the yellow flag, symbolizing the end of stage, or sorry, I guess the halfway break for the first segment of racing over. They're going to come down pit road prior to the break, though, so the procedure will be they'll come down pit road, they'll have a normal caution flag, and the green flag will come out, so the pace car will leave the track, but everyone will stop on the front straightaway. And then make sure the lineup's right. We'll throw a caution flag. We'll have some caution laps so the tires aren't really scorching hot. And then we'll be back green for the second half of this race, which will end up being around 90 laps. This caution break is going to end up taking a few, but we'll be back to green flag racing after that. We'll see what kind of tire strategies we've got. Looks like right side's going up on Brian Voss. Everybody obviously going to take some right side tires, but I'm interested to see if anyone wants to take 4. Looks like Voss is going to take 4. Elvis taking 4. Matt Cox taking 4. Doesn't look like any 2-tire takers. So we'll see the exit right here. As everybody exits pit road, I don't know if there was any real big gainers right there. On pit road, everybody pretty similar on strategies. Dalton Creech going to go an extra lap here in the 36. I think just wanted to be out back so we could have some tire left at the end. Maybe try and play a bigger strategy game. Brian Voss, though, going to remain your race leader. And then back behind him, it will be Brandon Elvis. We'll take a quick break for our halfway break, and then we'll probably grab a word from our some of our top competitors and see their thoughts. But We will return here shortly here on True Sim Productions.
wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn one.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it. They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Trish on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh,
and
my
to the
goodness.
line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Aphrodite is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Alrighty, folks, we're back here under the yellow flag. Our halfway break is over. Our Coleman Designs halfway leader is Brian Voss here tonight in the 55. So the field should be doubling up here shortly. Going to be 90 laps, it looks like, the rest of the way in this one. It's going to be a pretty exciting one. We'll see if Brandon Elvis is able to say anything about your race leader, Brian Voss. Or will it be somebody else? We've seen Zach Murphy come up 6 spots. Brian Zimmerman's back up into the top 5 in the 28. Remember, he got his left side tires early on. Got about 2 laps to go before we go green. The field should be seeing the 1 lap to go signal this time by. Looks like the lights go off in the Bad Company Racing pace car. The field doubles up, and we're ready to go green flag racing this time around. Pace car makes its way to the bottom side of the racetrack. They're going to be making their way through the Mr. All-Time Gaming restart zone. Brian Voss gets a good jump. We are back, green flag racing. Elvis going to have to settle for the 2nd spot for now. He's going to drop back in line. It's like the battle right now for the 3rd spot. Zach Murphy trying to pick up another spot here. It's Caleb Thompson down low. Zach Murphy up top. Looks like Murphy's going to be able to get back down behind Thompson and make his way in front of Brian Zimmerman. So Murphy in the 29 going to settle comfortably in that 4th spot for now. 10 cars on the lead lap. 3 cars battling right here. Nearly contact. There's Larry Bell. Just about got into the back bumper of the 07 of Daniel Sweat. Sweat now to the inside of Justin Elvis in the 44. Matt Cox in the 51 taking the top side as well. We'll see if Sweat can get 3 positions right here. Looks like he does. So move Daniel Sweat up into the 7th spot. He's back up in front of them. Battle for the race lead. Elvis right there on the back bumper of Brian Voss trying to work that top side. He's going to end up losing a little bit of ground here. Elvis really close right there in the 54. Next time around, we're going to be at 120 laps in out of our 200-lap event. We're going to have 80 to go, and it's going to get shorter and shorter from there. Brandon Elvis putting the pressure on here on the back bumper of the 55 of Brian Voss. It's right there, 80 laps to go at the stripe. It's a two-car breakaway. Caleb Thompson currently in that third spot. He was able to get down in front of Zach Murphy on the restart right there. Right now up front, the battle starting to heat up a little bit between Brian Voss, Brandon Elvis. You see them go by on the outside. Elvis is trying to make this racetrack a little bit bigger. We've seen him peek up to the top side a couple times. He's definitely getting some pretty good runs on the exit of the corner, but we'll see if he's able to get alongside the 55 of Brian Voss. Daniel Sweat moving up another spot, up into the top 6. Gets around Dalton Creech, move Dalton Creech back to 7th right now in the 36 machine. Remember, he was involved in that spin earlier on with Justin Coleman. As we just look back up front, the lead, the battle for the lead, I should say, really starting to heat up now. Battle can only get better from here. I think Brandon Elvis is really going to try and get around the 55 car. He knows that the longer he waits, the harder it's going to be to make that move and make that line stick. It's definitely going to be an exciting battle when Elvis decides to make the move. He's got some speed in the 54, but will it be enough at the end? Brian Zimmerman right here in the 5th spot. He's got some damage on that right front from that earlier incident in turns 1 and 2. Luckily, he was able to recover. He got left sides earlier on in the race, so he could take 2 tires on pit road, and he's now back up in the top 5 and isn't looking to be struggling with those left sides that are a little bit older than the rest of the field. They make their way down the back straightaway. We'll look at how spread out the field's gotten. You see the 2-car breakaway, and everybody's got some space in between them, which is a little bit different than what we saw earlier on this race. We have 10 cars on the lead lap at this point. Alex Harris a couple down in the 13, but he should be the recipient of the lucky dog if we do have another caution. As we'll have 70 laps to go at the line next time. Voss just trying to continue to lead laps and keep that 55 out front without putting too much wear on the tires. .70 laps in, and still not too much battling up front for that race lead. It's been Brian Voss for the majority of this one. He's been challenged a couple times by Brandon Elvis and Matt Cox, but nothing he's really had to sweat too much about. He's had a commanding race lead a couple different times in this race. It's not as big right now, but he's still got the 55 machine up in the front spot. As we continue to log laps, I'll talk a little bit about the upcoming schedule that we have here with the All-Star Racing League. Next week we'll be heading to the Bullring 4-hour All-Star event. Should be pretty exciting. We're going to have a knockout style format. It is yet to be released, but we are pretty excited for the release of that, and we're excited to display it to you guys next week as well. Then after the All-Star break, we're going to be going to Southern National, then the Hickory Motor Speedway, one of the most famous tracks for this late model stock car, in my opinion. Then we're going to go to USA, North Wilkesboro, Lanier, and Five Flags to wrap up our season. We got a bunch of racing left to do here in the All-Star Racing League this season. The Burial's Performance and Fabrication Late Model Series is just getting better by the week. A lot of good racing up front and a lot of racing throughout the field. The competition is like no other. As Brian Voss continuing to put it to the rest of the field. Take a look at the lap times between your top competitors. It's like Voss last time a little bit quicker. A big sideways moment right there, though. 55 gets a little bit more pressure on him, and we saw that slide that last time. Definitely not what you want to do. Elvis right there on the back bumper. Close. He's been close before, but not able to make the move. See if he's able to do anything, though. 60 laps in at the line. Elvis a little bit quicker these past couple laps. He's just not able to make up an opening on the bottom side, which is unfortunate because he's right there and he's got the speed similar to Brian Voss. Maybe a little tap there through the corner, kind of reminding him that he's there. Up the racetrack goes the 55. Voss is going to come back down the track and shut the door. Hard racing up front. These two cars starting to realize that the time's running out. Voss is kind of losing a little bit of speed there in the 55. And for the first time in a couple of weeks, it looks like the upper hand might not be going to the 55. Elvis looks up top in the 54. Not going to have an opening. He's going to cross back down underneath. What can the 55 of Voss do? He holds him tight. Contact between the two. Brian Voss going to go up the racetrack here. He's going to go into 1 and 2 a little bit wider. I think he's going to try and undercut Brandon Elvis here down the back straightaway. He's going to have a run, but give the race lead to Brandon Elvis. 145 laps into this one. Brandon Elvis taking the race lead. 55 laps to go at the line. Voss is still right there, though. He didn't lose much ground, just had a bad set of corners there, and now the pressure's on Elvis to keep that race lead. As Voss is right there, close on the back bumper. Just shy of 50 laps to go, and Voss and Brandon Elvis continue to battle for the lead right here. Everybody else on the racetrack getting pretty spread out throughout the field. As we take a look a little bit further back, battle is on back here. At least I thought. You've heard Brian Zimmerman, the pit spot, Daniel Sweat, Dalton Creech, your closest competitors on the track, with the exception of your race leaders. Brandon Elvis definitely made a good move right there, was able to cross over the 55, get the run to the bottom side, and a little bit of bump and run there in turns 3 and 4. Up went the 55 of Voss, but he wasn't able to hold that top side, and now Brandon Elvis is your race leader. 50 laps to go, 49 at the line right here. So time definitely starting to run out, but Brian Voss still has quite a few laps left to keep that pressure on, and one mistake from Brandon Elvis could really change the lead entirely. So Brian Voss has got to make sure he's there to pounce in case the 54 slips up a little bit. The lap times are pretty much identical between the two. But Brian Voss definitely seemed to be trying a little bit to get to the back bumper and underneath the 54 of Elvis. He's got a good run right here. Just not able to do anything with it. As Elvis and Voss continue to battle up here. Voss is just sneaking up to the back bumper slowly. Approaching 40 now left in this one, and if you're Brian Voss, you gotta think the time's running out. But if you back off a little bit, make Brandon Elvis kind of think about the line that he's running, you might be able to get back up through the front of the field. Back through the rest of the field, Caleb Thompson right now running in the third spot, about 4 seconds back. Caleb Thompson in the third spot, Zach Murphy in the fourth spot, about 4 seconds back. 6 seconds back. Then it's 7 seconds back to Brian Zimmerman. He's kind of got a pack behind him. Daniel Sweat, Dalton Creech, they're all right there battling for position. Daniel Sweat trying to break back into the top 5. And the tires definitely starting to play a difference here. We've seen some guys lose some speed over the course of this run as the tires got more heat in them. And Daniel Sweat makes a move to the inside of Brian Zimmerman. This would be for the top 5 if Sweat can make the move. Dalton Creech right there trying to make use of this as well. Sweat to the inside once again. It gets a bit of an advantage here. Nearly contact on the exit of turns 3 and 4, but moved Daniel Sweat up into the 5th spot at the line. We'll see if he's able to hold the gap on the bottom side. These two continue to battle. Dalton Creech right there kind of saying, guys, which one of you is going to go forward? You're losing time here, but looks like Zimmerman going to get a little bit loose up on the top side. That's going to give Sweat some breathing room down low and try and move the advantage into his favor a little bit more. These two so close between each other. Looks like Zimmerman does have to let out right there on the exit of 2, so give the 5th spot comfortably to Daniel Sweat. Now Dalton Creech and Brian Zimmerman going to be battling for the 6th spot. Creech down low, looks to have the advantage here. Zimmerman's kind of having a hard time on that outside lane, might be starting to lose a little bit of grip in that right rear tire. Both drivers really sliding going into the corner right there. You saw him kind of have to correct the cars, some contact there down the back. These things look to be a handful here, and we're just 168 laps in. So over 30 laps to go. It looks like Brian Zimmerman is able to get clear up front. The race lead has opened up a little bit. Brandon Elvis starting to open up a little bit of a gap to Brian Voss on the 55. At the line, we will be 170 laps in. I'm going to step away for a quick WD Broadcasting Network. Crank it up here on the True Sim Productions YouTube channel. I'll be right back. You guys will not miss a thing. Back here with, I believe, 25 laps to go on the dot. Brandon Elvis starting to pull away from second place Brian Voss right here. A couple cars starting to be at risk of going a lap down. Matt Cox, who started in the 2nd spot, he's currently scored in the 10th position, starting to slip into the clutches of Brandon Elvis a little bit here as we wind things down. We'll have 23 to go at the line. Right now, Brandon Elvis doing what he needs to do. He made that pass under green, and he's going to try and dethrone Brian Voss. of his 2-week winning streak. Right now, Elvis sitting in the, or sorry, Brandon Elvis sitting in the 4th spot in the points, 3 points behind Alex Harris. So this should help, as Harris has scored in the 11th spot. Brian Zimmerman, the next competitor in front of him, 6 points ahead. Sorry, 9 points ahead. He's currently in the 7th spot, so a good night in points for Brandon Elvis. He could try and sneak his way up into the top 2 and try and track down Brian Voss in the coming weeks, but 20 laps to go at the line right here. Brandon Elvis going to try and cap things off. Alex Harris in the 13. Unfortunately, a lap down, but he's got some speed here in the late stages of this race. He's running some of the best lap times on the racetrack, but unfortunately got trapped a lap down after the pit cycles. So 18 to go up front for your race leader, Brandon Elvis, down the back straightaway. $16 to go at the line right in there. Everybody kind of settling down. Really not too many battles on the racetrack. We'll watch them go by. Big gap to your 3rd place runner, Caleb Thompson. About 5 seconds of the difference right there. Tires really starting to go away on these race cars. And with 15 laps to go, a couple guys could start to have troubles and come to pit road like that right there. Matt Cox in the 51, bringing it pit side. He's going to lose a lap right here, and also probably the position to Alex Harris, so trouble for Matt Cox in the later stages of this race. I believe everybody else is still good, but Brandon Elvis, your race leader up front, 13 laps to go. Larry Bell closing in on Brian Zimmerman. This is the battle for the 7th spot. Lap times look to be in the favor of Larry Bell in the 43. But who will have the tires to get it to the end? Brandon Elvis has got 12 laps to go. He's got a 1.75 second gap over 2nd place Brian Voss, your pole sitter for tonight's race. Elvis came from that 4th spot here tonight. Still the biggest mover is the 29 and Zach Murphy, who's all by himself right now in that 4th position. He's got Caleb Thompson up in his vision, but everybody's really spread out right now, so if we want any kind of position change, it might have to be a caution flag. We've got 10 to go. Race leader Brandon Elvis has got a pretty commanding advantage. Took the lead on lap 145. Now he's got 9, almost 8 laps to go at the line. Brian Voss really fallen off in the 55 machine. You got to think he might have lost or might have used up too much of that tire too early. He's really starting to lose some time to your race leader, the 54. Brandon Elvis trying to collect his second victory of the season. You remember he came just shy. He came just shy one of the weeks and then got his first win. Sorry, came just shy last week in the second spot at Martinsville. Came just shy in the second spot the week before that at South Boston. It's going to be good to have his name ahead of the Brian Voss, Brandon Elvis battle. But Elvis trying to pick up his second victory of this season. He picked up 5 last season. Right now trying to get number 2 here at Myrtle Beach. So it'll be 4 to go at the line for your race leader, Brandon Elvis. Brian Zimmerman is going to get back around Dalton Creech for the 6th spot. Everybody pushing wide off of turns 3 and 4. Daniel Sweat right in front of them. So still battling late here with 3 laps to go. Sweat off the pace. Daniel Sweat drops low on the back straightaway. He's going to bring it pit side. Your race leader, Brandon Elvis, is going to see the popsicle sticks up in the air. 2 laps to go. So 2 laps to go for Brandon Elvis. He got the lead from Brian Voss around the lap 140 mark, and he's led since that point. And the white flag is up. 1 more lap to go for your race leader, Brandon Elvis. Put up great numbers last season. He put up a victory at Myrtle Beach last season. He's put up some good numbers this season, including back-to-back-to-back top 2 finishes. This time, he'll be at the top of the standings. Brandon Elvis going to bring it home and win at Myrtle Beach. Back behind him, Brian Voss will bring it home 2nd. Caleb Thompson and Zach Murphy roll behind him. And then it's way back to Brian Zimmerman going to beat Dalton Creech at the line. And it's going to be a photo finish for the 7th spot. Give it to Justin Elvis at the line. Larry Bell will come home 8th. Rounding out our lead lap cars, and then Alex Harris going to bring it home in the 9th spot. So Brandon Elvis going to get the victory here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway in the throwback number 54. So I'm going to take a quick step away and then grab a word from our winner here tonight. Fortunately, just our winner, because the 200 lap race and the interviews post-race, it is getting pretty late in the evening, folks, and we're exceeding time-wise. But I'm going to grab a word from our winner here tonight, and we'll return here shortly on True Sim Productions. Alrighty, folks, we're back to wrap things up here at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Gonna grab a word from our winner here tonight, Brandon Elvis, and see if we can't get a word. Brandon Elvis up in the booth, you got a copy.
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, well, a hard-fought victory here tonight. Brian Voss ended up leading the majority of that race, but luckily at the second half of that, second half of the race, had the second stage, if you will, of that race, you were able to work your way by after a long time, just sitting right there behind him, kind of letting him know you were there, and you were able to make the move, get inside, and take off, and you open up the lead at the end there as well. So tell me what's your thoughts about the race.
Yeah, I'm not real sure what happened to him after that break, but his car didn't look like it was handling too well right out in front of me there, and I knew I really wanted to keep the pressure on him kind of early. I've tried saving early before and couldn't get there at the end. I said, well, let's keep some pressure on him and try to make him use his stuff a little more. And he wants to. Didn't want to let him get a comfortable lead at least, where he could hit his own marks every lap and stuff. So I really wanted to keep the pressure on him, and then saw a couple opportunities where he was kind of slipping and just tried to capitalize, and it worked out.
Yeah, you mentioned the pressure, and I was kind of talking about that. The majority of that run is just applying the pressure, and eventually somebody's going to slip and there's going to be an opening, and you were patient. You kept the 54 machine behind and capitalized when you had the opening, and ended up with your second victory of this season. You came in tonight fourth into the point standings. Should be going up after tonight, obviously. Going to help you out big time before the All-Star break. But anybody that you would like to thank that helped put you on the podium, or sorry, in victory lane. What am I talking about?
Yeah, first and foremost, I just want to give a shout out to Tanner Marr. I know his mother's going through some things, and I just want to everybody know, let him know that we're praying for him, and hope everything turns out great and God has his back. I want to thank Burial's Performance, Chestnut Hill, my wife for putting up with me doing this. Coleman Design, Justin gives us some killer paint schemes, and we're really grateful for it. My team at Elvis Coleman Racing, which is Justin and Justin. We have a lot of fun. BH Homes Construction, Gibbs Brothers Construction, Parker Brothers Window Tinting, Shock High Performance for giving us some good setups to run here. We really appreciate Kent. I'd like to thank you guys for broadcasting. This one's always special at Myrtle Beach, man.
Yeah, Myrtle Beach, definitely a huge win. The biggest race that we have on our schedule, 200 laps. You were able to show the endurance and be there at the end when it mattered, and picked up your second victory of the season. Next week is the All-Star race, the bull ring. It's going to be a fun one. How are you feeling going into that with some momentum?
I feel confident going into it now, especially after a win tonight. We had that race in the regular season last year, and I was able to do pretty good in it, so and get the win there. So maybe we can keep this momentum rolling and get a little streak going.
Alrighty, well, your winner here tonight, Brandon Elvis. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. I do see Brian Voss and Caleb Thompson in there in the chat, so we will grab a word from our our second place finisher here tonight. Brian Voss, you got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
Alrighty, well, one spot shy of the victory here tonight, but still a great run for you. Gonna keep the points lead for sure. Second place, just didn't quite have enough there at the end.
Nah, man, I kind of kicked myself in the foot here. We put way too much fuel in. I really didn't think about it, to be honest. I don't know if we still would have had anything for Brandon. He was pretty sporty. I would have liked to seen how it played out, how we were at the end of the first half and him at the second half. I think he said he had 4 laps remaining of fuel, and we had 49. Just had way too much rear weight percentage, and it was just a handful from the get-go, really.
Yeah, I saw the back end step out a couple times there on that second half, which is something I didn't see the first run. So, like you said, the fuel kind of obviously messing up the handle of that race car, but still second place here tonight. Anybody that you have to thank that helped put you on the podium?
Yeah, everybody puts the still on, you guys, and then Jay Bird, Teddy Bear for watching, and Motorcycle Club's on board this weekend, the Blue Iron Club, the thin blue line, man. So anytime we can respect the police officers that fall, and we're always going to do it. Still finished second, not a win, but as you see, Bill Light is on there and B-Dubs. We still got beer money for the crew.
Always going to have the beer money for the crew every time we talk to Brian Voss. Congratulations on your second place run here tonight. We look forward to having you back up in the booth.
Hey, man, appreciate it.
Alrighty, folks. That was Brian Voss, driver of the number 55 machine. Now we'll grab a word from our third place finisher, Caleb Thompson, who started in the 5th spot. See if we can't grab a word. Caleb, you got a copy?
Yeah, gotcha.
Alrighty, well, 3rd spot here tonight. You started in, I believe, what did I just say? I just said it and I forgot. There we go, the 5th spot. And you were able to work your way into that 3rd spot in the end. You kind of shuffled around, had some good battles with Zach Murphy around that top 5, but ended up with a 3rd place spot here tonight. How'd your run go?
Yeah, that was a tough race. So me and Zach were working together there, but in practice we decided that we were just gonna save tires really, because I think at the end of there I was at the first one I was at 28%, 30% or something, and I was like, oh god, second run we're gonna be even worse. But I think we only had like 90 laps there in the end really on that last run, so my tires ended up being 35. But geez, Baus and Elvis, class of the field, huh? I couldn't have nothing for them. They were 7 seconds ahead of me. It's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes I've been in your shoes before and you're just like, man, those guys have something I don't. And sometimes that happens and it's just one of those nights. But 3rd place run for you here tonight. Coming into this evening, you were sitting in the 6th spot in points. That run should help it. Zach Murphy, your buddy, right in front of you in the 5th spot. So good runs for both of you. Next week we go to the bull ring for the All-Star. Sorry, I can't talk right now. The All-Star break. There we go. And then Southern National after that. How you feeling going into Southern National, coming off of a podium?
Really good.
Alrighty. Well, before we wrap things up, anybody that you have to thank that helped put you on the podium here tonight?
Just Zach helped me out, and my wife for letting me do this. Keep taking care of the little guy while I race. So shout out to the Elvis and his crew there for putting this together too.
Alrighty. Well, Caleb Thompson, your 3rd place finisher tonight. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Alrighty, folks. That's going to wrap things up for us here tonight at the Myrtle Beach Speedway. Thank you to everybody who tuned in for tonight's 200-lap event. Congratulations to Brandon Elvis for picking up his 2nd victory of this season. Next week, we're going to be heading to the Bull Ring out in Las Vegas for an all-star event, which is going to have a knockout-style format. We'll release that when it gets released to me, but until then, we will see you guys next time. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm your host, Winston Deal. Peace out.